Welcome. My name is Kim Kirshner, and I'm the Executive Director for both the Institute for Better Education, or IBE, as well as IBE Foundation. I want to make sure tonight we're taking a really deep dive into all 5 tax credit programs that Arizona has to offer. We're very fortunate here in Arizona to have 5 opportunities to make sure, and it's the only way to make sure, that your state tax dollars stay not only in your community, but potentially helping the exact populations you want to help with your state tax dollars. Before we get started, I want to make sure everybody knows that we have Crystal. She is on one of our IBE team members. She is on Q&A as well as chat. So as I'm talking, if you have any questions, put that there. She will be sure to answer it for you. If she feels it's a question that everybody should be hearing, she'll come in here. This is a live webinar, and she'll say, hey, Kim, you need to answer this question for everybody. All right, so let's get started on all 5 tax credits that Arizona has to offer. First of all, why tax credits? What makes them so important? From a taxpayer's perspective, I would say a lot of taxpayers want the opportunity to keep their Arizona state taxes in their community and, again, support the vulnerable populations that touch their heart. What a true opportunity that is, because how often do we have that kind of control over our tax dollars? This is a state tax program, so we're talking about the state taxes you pay on your Arizona Form 140. From the recipient's perspective, trust me, they're feeling very grateful to receive this kind of assistance from a program that is maybe not tied to a government assistance. Tax credits never go to the government. Tax credits literally go to an organization that is certified by the state of Arizona to offer a tax credit and to give a receipt to the donor that will let them do that dollar-for-dollar tax credit. Tax credits literally don't cost anything above and beyond what a taxpayer already has to pay to the state of Arizona. How do we know what that looks like? Where do you get that number? Well, if you're taking notes on your Arizona Form 140, line number 48, that is the number. That is the exact number where you determine how much you can receive in tax credits. Line 48 on the standard 140 form for Arizona for the 2025 tax year is your tax liability. Basically, that is 2.5% of your taxable income, because we're in a flat tax state. That's what the state wants to get from you in state taxes. As we all know, we've had money withheld from our paychecks, right? You have state, federal, Social Security, Medicare. Your HR department takes those funds that they withheld from a paycheck, and they send the state money to the Department of Revenue. They send the federal money to the IRS. So when it's time to do your 2025 taxes, you have money already sitting at that government agency to apply against your state tax liability. So let's say your liability is $3,000 and you've had $3,000 withheld from your paycheck. You don't owe anything to the state of Arizona, to the Department of Revenue at tax time, because they already have your money. That doesn't mean you can't do tax credits. You are still able to do up to line 48. So if that line 48 is $3,000, you've had $3,000 withheld, you do a $3,000 worth of tax credits, one of the 5 or maybe a couple of the 5 that I'm going to share with you about tonight. You don't have to pay them anymore, and they don't need the money that you've already paid them through your withholding. They have to send it back to you in the form of a refund. This means you have now taken total control of your state taxes by doing tax credits, dollar for dollar, and the state of Arizona can't use the money that you've already sent to them because they don't need to. You've taken care of your liability. You fulfilled it potentially through tax credits. All right? Any questions on that? Crystal's available to ask. And I'm going to go forward so we can kind of see what these tax credit programs look like in the state of Arizona. So Arizona taxpayers do have a choice in Arizona to how to pay their state taxes. As we all know, they can pay the state of Arizona through the Department of Revenue, or again, they can donate to a tax credit organization and have that saved where their tax dollars are spent. I don't even necessarily like to say it's a donation. It's more a direction. They are directing dollar for dollar their state tax dollars to what's best for what they feel is best use of their state taxes. So when do Arizona taxpayers give? First thing is, you have to give before you file your taxes. So we are talking about the 2025 tax year right now. People are just now doing their state taxes, right? And we all know, I think there's going to be a lot of people filing their taxes that first 2 weeks of April. You have until April 15th of 2026 to file on time your state taxes. So your 140, your Arizona 140. Before you file, if you're going to do tax credits, you have to direct those funds to a tax credit organization first. A lot of times people do it minutes before they file their state taxes. And what that looks like is that they'll be doing their taxes, let's say on TurboTax, and it's 10:30 at night on April 15th, and they're getting everything done. They determine what their line 48 is. They see it's at $5,000, and they can now do tax credits to those organizations using their credit card, getting their points, their miles, their rewards, whatever that looks like, to direct those tax dollars to that organization. Then they go back to TurboTax, fill in that they did it. Minutes ago they did it, then they submit their taxes. That makes it so simple. It has to be done, and I'll show you on the next part of this screen. It has to also be done on or before April 15th of 2026. So for 2025 state taxes, you have until midnight to make that tax credit donation, even if you're filing an extension. A lot of people don't understand that an extension only allows you to pay or to file your taxes later. You still need to pay them on time. Any tax credit organization is a payment opportunity. So again, you will have this opportunity till midnight to make your tax credit donation, hit submit to get your taxes filed. Even if you're filing an extension, that tax credit donation must be received by the tax credit organization before midnight on April 15th, all right? A lot of times people do it all at once because they're doing it at tax time. Doesn't mean you can't be doing your 2025 tax credits throughout the year. Even as of today, we are receiving 2026 tax credit donations because people, maybe they're taking their refund from 2025 and they're applying it to their 2026 tax credit. There's not a day, at least at IBE, that doesn't go by that we don't receive a tax credit donation. But the bulk of them do come in between April 1st and April 15th. People do it throughout the year. Like I said, you might do it monthly. You might be doing it every single quarter. You've decided, well, I'm going to get some of my tax credits taken care of. All right, what are the 5 individual tax credits Arizona has to offer? The first one is the private school tax credit. These are 2025 numbers. A single filer can make a contribution or direct their taxes up to $1,535. Married, $3,062. All right. If your liability is greater than that and you would like to do more than that, let's look at the public school tax credit. Single filer $200, married $400. If your liability is $5,000, you can stack your tax credits until you reach whatever your liability is. There's also something called a QFCO. This is a tax credit in Arizona that takes care of foster care children. We have a QCO, qualifying charitable organization. A lot of people have heard of that. It's called the working poor. This is taking care of very low-income families with their basic needs. And finally, there is a military family relief tax credit. These are the 5 tax credits that Arizona taxpayers have to choose from in order to, again, keep their state taxes in their community, working with a population that means something to them, that they want to help. Let's look at it from a little bit bigger picture. Top private school tax credit. Single filer, I've already given you the numbers. You have until April 15th of 2026 at midnight to make this tax credit donation. Doesn't have to go in this order. You might decide you want to do the QCO and the public school tax credit, or you want to give a little bit to each. It's up to you. This is your choice. As a taxpayer, this is your choice. Public school tax credit also by April 15th of 2026. The foster care tax credit, the same, as well as the QCO. The only one for 2025 that is off the table at this point is the military family relief tax credit. The reason why is that one is the only one of the ones you see of the 5 tax credits that literally has a $1 million cap on it. Once they hit $1 million for any given tax year, it closes. And that is always before December 31st of 2025. But you can see at the bottom, the grand total, even without the family relief tax credit, there's a lot of availability for tax credits out there. If you consider a 2.5% flat tax rate, it's not like you have to be making a tremendous amount of funding to be able to take advantage of all of them. So let's talk about them at their individual level. The private school tax credit. This one is actually divided into two different credits. The first one came about 28 years ago, allowing Arizona residents to be able to say, I would like to make sure my state tax dollars are helping families, low-income families, families with special needs, whatever that looks like, they're going to help families going to a private school. A lot of families are not able to afford that, but it might be the best choice for their child. So let's say you have a single mom who has a student, has a child with autism, and they really would like them to go to that school for children with autism. Well, it might be $20,000 a year or more. Let a private school tax credit organization assist with that or fully cover it. You can see that is claimed on Form 323. Let me just state that those form numbers, I'm going to put them all up on the screen, but if you're utilizing TurboTax or your CPA or your tax preparer, when they do that, even if you're on TurboTax, it'll ask you, have you utilized tax credits? You click yes. Then it'll open up all of them. Which one? How much? What date? And those forms will automatically be utilized with your Arizona Form 140. The other one, the private school tax credit that came about just in 2012, is called the Plus or Switcher tax credit. This one almost doubled the opportunity for an Arizona taxpayer to give more, to help more. The only difference between this one and the original program that's been around for 28 years is that one, there's no eligibility except for a child needs to be attending an Arizona private school, K through 12, or a disabled preschooler. This one, the Arizona legislature said, okay, we're going to give this extra opportunity, but we're going to put some eligibility requirements on it. The students that receive these funds need to basically be transferring, going from entering private school, let's say, for the first time, even as whether it's be a kindergartner, somebody who's transferring from an Arizona public or charter school into a private school, a student that is here on military orders, the family is in the military, they're here on orders. It's been expanded to even be families who are coming from homeschool, coming from out of the state, out of the country. Even students are transferring from an ESA program. They're all eligible for this program, this second one. And I will say here at IBE, because this is one of the programs that we do represent, probably 80–85% of our students are eligible for both programs. It's not very often that we cannot, either a student comes into the system that cannot become eligible, or we can't help them to become eligible. So this is the private school tax credit program. As I mentioned, IBE is one of the organizations in the state of Arizona that facilitates this program. We've been doing so since the beginning, the 28 years. And again, donors have a choice through IBE to be able to recommend, quite frankly, an Arizona private school student or students, a private school, or even our general fund. And what we do with those funds is we, again, make sure families have the funds to attend those schools. If a private school child is recommended, that's one way to do it. But if you recommend a private school or IBE's general fund, it will be going to a lower income family to help with a family who cannot afford this school. So we have a lot of funding coming in for private schools specifically, but we also have a lot of families who are taking advantage. Maybe they have a financial need, their child is being recommended, they're getting financial aid. This is a way to bridge the gap to make sure they can go there. You can see our website, ibescholarships.org, is there on the bottom. Also, what makes IBE somewhat unique, not only have we been around since the beginning, we also, quite frankly, the law allows all STOs, school tuition organizations, to retain an administrative fee of up to 10%. Now, being able to award 90% of every dollar that comes in, or have to by law, is what's considered very generous. An organization, a charitable organization, is considered charitable if they award 75% or more. STOs, by law, have to award 90%. IBE, first of all, I'm one of the largest STOs in the state of Arizona, so we only retain 8%. We award 92% of every dollar that comes in. It does set us apart because we want to make sure more funding is going to kiddos in schools. We also offer funding to schools to pay down tuition costs every month except for June. So that means money is going out the door every single month except for June, and quite frankly, twice in May. Any recommended fund awards roll over from year to year for continuing students, even those on ESA. And IBE, we take care of our donors. And what I mean by that is we want to make sure making the decision to direct your state tax dollars to help kids at private school is a wonderful experience for the donor. It's easy for you. Our website's intuitive. We answer our phone when you call. We want to make sure this is something easy, because if it isn't, it may not be something you want to do. We even go so far as we have this amazing chat feature on our website. And when you hit chat, no matter whenever it's available, it's somebody, an IBE team member. It is somebody that works right here at IBE. And quite frankly, even on April 15th, we have that chat feature opened all the way until midnight, because we know some people are waiting until the last minute, and we don't want them to not be able to make this tax credit donation, decision, direction. Let's get the money to the kids. And if it's on April 15th at that time, it's me. You will be talking to me, the director, on chat, and I will even call you if you've got issues, because I want to make sure this is a decision that you've made that we can help you follow through. What sets IBE apart? We really care. We want to make sure that you as a donor are able to fund as many students as possible. We also have the public school tax credit. Public school tax credit, again, pays fees directly to the public school in the state of Arizona to support all eligible activities, programs, purposes. And so this means that, again, there are some fees at a public school that cost money. We want to make sure they're covered. The public school tax credit is a wonderful way. If your liability can support multiple tax credits, this is a great one to support, and you can choose which school you want to support with your tax credit. So that is another tax credit. I've listed the form that you'd be utilizing. Public schools have a specific number. Private schools do not. When you are claiming your credit for a private school, you just have to know the name of the school tuition organization you utilized. If you're actually going to be doing it for a public school, there's a special number. And when you make that donation, you do it through the public school tax credit section. So you'd have to find where they are accepting those funds. It'll give you the number so that when you claim that credit, you've been able to help kiddos at that school also. Just going to throw back at the camera real quick. I forgot to mention, and I should at the beginning, we have Crystal on our chat right now. Our Q&A, she's taking questions. Please be sure, if I'm talking too fast or you want a little bit more information, Crystal is there to help. Should have mentioned this earlier. She knows all about everything we're talking about. She's waiting to hear what you have to say. Type it up in your Q&A and make sure she'll answer it for you. Follow-up questions, and some of the questions she might even bring in to me. This is a live webinar, so she'll bring them in to me, so maybe it's something that she feels everybody else should know as well. So our next one is the Qualifying Foster Care Charitable Organizations, or the QFCOs. This is a tax credit that's taking care of very low-income families with their foster care children. It is very important tax credit. This one also has a QFCO code similar to what the public school has. It is significantly higher than the public school tax credit. You can see for a single filer at 618, married 1,234 for 2025. I cannot say enough about QFCOs. They are taking care, again, of vulnerable populations. They're taking care of vulnerable children. I think tax credits are truly, well, not only the only way to keep your state tax dollars in your community. The way state taxes work, when we pay the Department of Revenue, which I'm not against, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but every money that goes to the Department of Revenue, it is sent to particular parts of Arizona based on population. So depending on where you live, if you live in a very small community, especially if you want to make sure your state tax dollars stay in that small community, it's got to be done through tax credits who support and represent your community, all right? So keep in mind, tax credits are a true blessing to everybody that receives them. QFCOs, very important. The next one is the Qualifying Charitable Organization. This is a tax credit. They call it the working poor. It is to help very low-income families. So what they're helping families who are 150% of poverty and below with primarily basic needs. So this tax credit is really making sure those low-income families have what they need to have food, clothing, medical care, things like that. The maximum QCO credit donation, for 2025, sorry, there's a typo on my form here, but the numbers are correct. For 2025, it's $495 for a single filer and $987 for a married. That is the number for 2025. So that number is what you can add to whatever your line 48 again on your Arizona Form 140, that line 48 If your liability will support this one and other ones, you again can stack them. You don't have to give the full amount. You can give up to whatever you want, but that's the maximum that I'm showing on the screen. So IBE, let me just give you a little story. So I've been with IBE. IBE, the STO, Institute for Better Education, has been doing the private school tax credit since the beginning, 28 years. And about a few years ago, and we love the program. Again, we're helping so many vulnerable populations. A few years ago, I realized that for our low-income families, being able to help with private school tuition, that's wonderful, but it's not enough. So I started IBE Foundation. IBE Foundation is a QCO, and we're a little bit unique in that we take care of kids. We continue with our mission of taking care of kids, K through 12 education, and we just do it under the QCO now. We take care of not just kids in private school, but public and charter as well. I just want to help kids. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what that looks like, just to give you an idea of what we're trying to accomplish here in the state of Arizona through a second tax credit program. But this tax credit program through IBE, again, I mentioned we're taking care of kids in public, charter, and private schools. We're at ibefoundation.org. And we are wanting to not just take care of their very basic needs, we're trying to do more. We have 2 programs we're helping with our lower income families, and we even go up a little bit higher than 150% of poverty, just because we know some families who are still what we consider corporate low income eligible have needs. We want to elevate we want to make sure that they are feeling so good in their confidence. We take care of everything from eyeglasses, dental work, hearing aids, students in need, shoes, clothing for school activities, support for student meals. We even go so far as we'll help with we'll help in our next program is the Engage program. This is making sure kids love their school. I believe strongly that whatever school a parent chooses, public, private, charter school, it is best for their student. That's part of what I believe in. Truly, I do. So once that student gets to that school, the school is going to take care of the academics portion of it. That's one of the reasons why a parent has them there. But I want to make sure those kids love every aspect of their school. Can you imagine being that student who you are a football player at heart? That's what you want to do, what you want to be, everything about it. But your family cannot afford the fees. Even at public schools, there are fees to play football. I want to take care of it. So our second program is the Engage program. We're taking care of families with their sporting fees, fine arts fees, elective classes, camp experiences. We want these low-income families to be able to be just like everybody else. Do what they need to do, because my feeling is strongly, if a child loves their school, they're more likely to become a lifelong learner, and that will take them so far in life. So that's the ibefoundation.org. The last one is the military tax credit. Again, unfortunately, the cap for 2025 has been met, but I don't, just keep it in mind, 2026 is available. It does not go up each year. It's the same amount. And I put the website at the bottom so you can see this is where you go to give, and 2026 is open. So if you want to help out military families with unforeseen financial hardships, then you can do so, but for 2026. Again, I want to make sure everybody knows they can absolutely ask questions. Crystal's on our Q&A. Put your Q&A in there, and she will answer your questions. She knows this program, again, as well as I do. So I'd like to just kind of recap a little bit about some of the forms. I had mentioned the forms on each of the slide, but there's an extra form that your TurboTax or your tax preparer will utilize if you do take advantage of any tax credits. It's the 301. This one kind of recaptures all of them. This is the one where you will put your individual form in your tax return for each program, but this one will say, okay, these are the 3 or the 4 different tax credits that this particular taxpayer utilized. So this is just an extra form that will be part of your TurboTax package or from your tax preparer or whichever program that you're using. All right, so that's what I've got about the 5 tax credits. I'm not finished because there's some more good news and some more great information. But just knowing that Arizona offers this opportunity. I look at it when I talk to people about this, I'm inviting them to take advantage of these tax credits because, again, how wonderful that you have the opportunity to put your state tax dollars, money that you've worked so hard for, and you can do whatever you need to keep it in your community. Again, helping these populations that really need your help. And it doesn't cost anything. Tax credits, again, are dollar for dollar. Giving funding to IBE or a different tax credit organization is just like giving it to the state of Arizona. It pays your state tax liability. I'm going to go on to a couple other things, but if you have questions about that, Crystal will take care of it in the Q&A. So let's talk a minute about the corporate tax credit, because this is a program. There is only one out of the 5 programs that I've just shared with you. Only one of them has a corporate component, and this is to help children, students in private schools and corporations, whether you're a C Corp, S Corp, you're an LLC that files with an S election, even many insurance companies can say, I would like to make sure my liability, and we're talking, there's no cap on their liability. Their liability can help either low-income families, it's been around since 2006, this program, or what they call the disabled displaced. It's also been called Lexi's Law, that's 2009. So these 2 programs, if you know anybody with a business that wants to do more, and trust me, I understand if you're sitting there as an S corporate owner and you're like, well, we don't pay taxes at the entity level. I know you don't, but your little K1 that flows through to you with your whatever you've made or lost in your S corp, your tax credit does the same thing. It flows through to you personally. So amazing opportunities. But these are the only 2 programs you can only recommend in Arizona private school or schools or an STO's general funds that works with this corporate programs. That is an opportunity to say, all right, I know my corporate taxes are going to be helping again even more than I can as an individual. So again, who can do this? C corporations, S corporations, LLCs with that S election, and insurance companies that pay premium taxes here in the state of Arizona. So 2 program choices. I said that there's no income cap, there's no cap on the corporate low income programs. There is not per organization or corporation, but statewide there's a cap of 135 million, and for the disabled displaced, it's a state cap of 6 million. So there's no limit for the donation until that cap is met. S Corps need to do their at least a minimum of $5,000. There is a pre-approval process, and funds need to be funded within 20 days of an approval. So if anybody just has questions about that, Crystal not only is wonderful about individual tax credits, she is the one that's in charge of making sure my corporate donors have everything that they need. So she knows all about that as well. I just want to make sure people know about this opportunity. Individual tax credits, amazing. Corporate tax credits, out of all 5 programs, only the STOs, the school tuition organizations, the private school tax credits has that business component. So who can Arizona businesses recommend? Any Arizona private school or schools or an STO's general fund. S corporate federal deduction. I have available, I'm not going to go into the basics of all of this, but a lot of times people are like, well, that'd be great, but I can't deduct it on my federal corporate return. In some instances you can. If you'd like that, we had a white paper written by a very prominent tax attorney, Brent Nelson, a number of years ago, talking about how this could be done. Just make sure Crystal in the Q&A has your email and she'll get that sent to you. Finally, IBE, one of the things that makes us a little unique when it comes to corporate money is we want to take care of our corporate partners. We want to do marketing for you. We want to promote how generous you are in making sure low-income families, children with disabilities, or any child that's ever been in the foster care system has what they need to attend a school that their parents know is best for them. We want to take care of you. So we have these amazing marketing levels. Everybody gets this wonderful Crystal Award that makes sure that for the tax year that they're given, because again, we appreciate you. We truly appreciate you. Finally, I just want to give the latest update on the federal scholarship, so our tax credit program. So for those of you that know, and some of you may not know, part of the Big Beautiful Bill was a federal tax credit helping students at public schools, private schools, charter schools. It is not just for any one kind of school. It is right now, it will not take effect until 2027. It is in the U.S. Treasury's rules and requirements still. They're still trying to figure out the rules of it. One of the biggest rules is that a governor needs to opt in. The program begins by January 2027. The governor, we're not even sure what date the governor has to opt in. To be honest, we haven't heard from our governor whether or not she's going to opt in. I would say the thought process is she won't, but we're very hopeful that she will, because this federal money could be helping kids in Arizona, public schools, private schools, charter schools. It's just making sure families have even more. And but one of the things is, let's say Arizona doesn't opt into this program for 2027, but another state, many of the states have already said they're going to, you can always do your federal tax credit through that state. Of course, that means your federal money will go to a different state, but we're really hopeful that our governor will do so. There's a $1,700 maximum, and that is per taxpayer. Well, the question is it per taxpayer or per tax return? All signs are showing that when it came out, the big beautiful bill, the wording wasn't the way it was needed to be to make it per taxpayer. It's per tax return, so that is actually setting up a marriage penalty. Of course, there's a lot of us that are working to change that. That $1,700 maximum should be per taxpayer and not per tax return, but that's how it's set up right now. The students that are served, again, public, charter, private schools, household income less than 300% of area's median income. What that means is that students typically in Arizona, if a family is grossing under even $300,000 a year, they're eligible for it. So it's not only for the low-income families, but the way most STOs work, like IBE, we will definitely participate in this program. We're going to be taking care of the lower-income families and working our way up. You cannot recommend a specific student through this program, but you can a school. That's what we've been told. It's still in the rules and regs right now, but we're trying to figure out all that. But we believe schools can be recommended. And of course, when you give through our STOs like IBE, we will be honoring that recommendation. And funding utilized for various educational experiences. It's not just tuition. So we could, through IBE, help with lunch programs or sporting things like that also with this funding, as long as it's an educational expense. So we're still not clear about the sporting fees, but there's so many other things at public, private, and charter schools that we can help with. All right, if you have any questions, please, I hope you've been asking Crystal. If not, I hope I've done a good enough job. You understand kind of where we're coming from with this program. My email is kim@IBEscholarships.org. If you've got questions, I want to hear from you. We actually love to talk to the public, to the people. You call IBE, we'll answer our phone, we'll take care of you. We'll answer even about other tax programs that we don't necessarily work with, because I want to make sure you understand all the opportunities that you have. So again, thank you so much for being part of this webinar, and we'll be available for you, and have a wonderful rest of your day.